Alright, fuck it. I'm not self-actualized by myself. I need people helping me with this shit. So it's not gonna be very good. That's alright.
That's a disclaimer, Bo. If it's not good, it's because you don't know enough about mental health. I found a notebook with a bunch of tabs.
I'm gonna just go through them, some of them. John Mulaney, that was the big one. John Mulaney, I was gonna do the whole... I'm running out of time here. I set a time limit for myself. It's kind of stupid, but kind of right.
I've got working pockets. That's true.
I was inspired to try to help you out, bro.
I'm not any super fan. I like to, from a healthy distance, I like to just fine. I didn't give a shit about that fucking excessively Jewish characters you kept bringing out and throwing at Broadway and shit, but good for you. It broke my heart to see what you went through and how you handled it. I read a recap or something of one of your first shows back. Sorry, my fans. It was a recap of one of your shows, and you were doing a lot of the material I saw you do on Seth Meyers when he welcomed you back from out of the spotlight into the spotlight. Your friend Seth Meyers, who was doing the best he could. Was doing the best he could when he gave you the job that you thought you needed to prevent yourself from having the experience you're about to have. I don't know what's real with you, dude. Someone tells me their first beer was at the age of 5. I start asking them what kind of mental health or what mental illness diagnosis they have. And that interview you did when you came back was so weird because you mentioned a psychological hold, dog. You mentioned the 72 hours, and that was the only mention of mental health whatsoever. The rest of it was devoted to cocaine and your love of cocaine. And I can't imagine that the state of addiction treatment today is telling people they have cocaine addictions. I think they're mostly trying to root out the underlying mental health conditions that you're self-medicating with the drugs. It's not always the case. If you do bad meth, you'll just wind up with mental health problems. That's not really the same. If you stop doing meth, those mental health problems might go away. They might not, but they might. So it's not really the same. If you just have an addiction, then I guess I don't have enough information. But you mentioned a psychological hold. You mentioned mental health stuff. You exhibited mental health stuff. I had a girl waiting for me when I got out of the hospital too, man. She didn't look like Olivia Munn, but she was waiting to pounce the way Olivia seemed to be. You're a vulnerable guy. I'm sorry that happened, and I'm sorry it felt like it was so comforting at that time, because I know it would have felt immensely comforting to you. It's not my business, really. You made it my business by insisting it was my business. After people hounded you, and you're playing that game. That's what I mean, is you went on Seth Meyers playing that game. You went back to that game fucking months later. Months that you... It's been 3 years since my last big breakdown, man, and I can't imagine if my livelihood depended on... I mean... My livelihood, I think you could have twice as good as my livelihood for the rest of your life with the money you already have, right? So maybe maintain some perspective. I saw you try to jump back on the horse, and I read an article detailing that show they went to of yours. You did like a 9-show engagement preview, something, I don't know. And they described what they saw, and what they saw was a lot of the material you did, your star-studded intervention and shit like that. Shit that can seem like it might be funny to someone who didn't take the time to properly address their issues. But you said something at that show that it really resonated with me, and what you said was, in the midst of the audience reacting the way any audience will react to anyone with legitimate mental health issues, your response was, oh, you all like Bo Burnham now. Which is true. Except Bo Burnham doesn't have any fucking thing wrong with him. That's why he got so much love for what he did, because that's what happens when someone pretends like they're... It's like a white-produced movie about slavery will get better responses than a black person trying to get slavery included in basic historical texts. It's just weird, man. Yeah, I think that you've got real mental health issues, and I don't think you're handling them well at all. It doesn't look like you're handling them that good, Doug. And if we had more time, I would have sat through that interview you did with Seth so that we could go through it beat by beat, and I could just shake my head in dismay and empathy at what you're attempting to do, or what you feel pressured by yourself to do, what you're doing to yourself, how the people around you are just utterly failing you and themselves. Seth, you didn't know anyone else you could go to? You thought that would be a good idea? I don't know, man. I don't think that you knew what was going on at any stage. Except maybe that shit about Horatio Sands. Y'all, do you want to Me Too every decade? Because you're doing that thing where you protect the men who are problematic because they fit into the current environment. Fallon? Saw your name in those fucking stories, dog. Talk about it? No. Make goofy faces. We have run out of substance. Colbert, remember when you got to your fucking show and you were like, oh, time to delete all my substance so I can be appealing to everyone in America? And then eventually you realized that that was not gonna work out. Mulaney, I'm wishing you well, man. I think you've got a show in Syracuse I heard about on the radio in June. If my thing does anything, you send me a ticket. I'll go talk to you or whatever. I'll just be a friendly person. Like, I'm mostly just a regular friendly person. Kind of weird, but this is the time, to quote a person who is very, very sick, this is the time I've allowed myself to just fully express myself. And the joke of it is, I spent so much time preparing that I'm not prepared properly. I had to take time away, and I had one day, I knew this day was coming, and I didn't prepare properly. Because I was worried as soon as I started, I was going to sink back into a zone I was in about a month ago of just trying to lie down to sleep and having an imaginary argument with Robert Pickering Burnham. Because that was material. I was working the material. Let's see who else we got. I was planning to have like a real freak out. Like try to really push myself, and I don't know that I'm going to. So if I just burn through this material, I don't know.